Michelle. I'm the project manager for this. And this is Carolyn, and this is her baby up here. And so she is here to give us a quick tour of the exhibit, 15 minutes, she says. And then we'll go back downstairs and we'll go through this prospectus, and we'll try to be out of here real quick. Take it away.
All right. Well, thanks for coming tonight. I'm really excited for the design challenge. I think it's going to be great. I'm excited to see what comes out of it. I'm actually going to bring you further down the gallery here. Where we can start. So the whole inspiration for this exhibit really started with one collection that we have in the Library and Archives. It's a glass plate negative collection that was taken by a man named Jasper Wyman, who came up for the Klondike Gold Rush in 1899. So he took several tons of gear with him from Seattle, and among that was a large glass plate negative camera. So if you can imagine lugging around great big glass plates with you over Chilkoot Pass and up to Dawson City, that is what he did. But what makes this collection so exciting is that these photos, he took photos of everything, which I don't know how many of you are excited about photography and kind of old format cameras, but it takes a really long time to set up a glass plate camera. So the fact that he took the time to take these really intimate sort of interior shots gives you a nice glimpse into what it would have been like to live in a cabin that was 10 by 12 feet, sometimes with as many men as 13, 14 individuals living in these cabins at a time. So kind of a fascinating collection. We have his diary as well, so if you want some really personal stories and hardships, that's a great place to start. They really only lasted about a year and 6 months, I think, before he returned to Seattle with $600 less than nothing. So, like many people who came up for the gold rush, he came back penniless. But we have this beautiful collection as a result. So, I also was thinking about my own feelings about winter. I didn't grow up in Alaska. I moved up here several years ago. And, I do suffer from seasonal depression, for sure. It took me a long time to figure out that that's what it was, and it got me thinking about how do we deal with living in this place? How do we alter our environments, our internal environments, our external environments? What are some of the ways that we explore to cope with the darkness and the cold? And what are the ways that we've been innovative, and how has this inspired northern living? How does this make Alaska a great place to be? So some of the photographs you see here are from contemporary photographers from all over the world, well, circumpolar north, I should say. And the historical photos are all from our own collection. So we can kind of move down this way. This clip is from Charlie Chaplin's The Gold Rush, which is a great film. It was originally released as a silent film in 1920, I think, but he re-released it in 42 with his own narrative and original score, and he was actually nominated for an Academy Award for it. So it's kind of this is a great clip where his Big Jim has been in a cabin by himself for too long, and he's starving, and he keeps imagining Charlie turning into a chicken. So it's just a 5-minute clip. Yeah, I think it sort of gets at the heart of the mania that we could feel when we've been alone for too long. This is one of my favorite photos in the show. It's just, it's from the Hillshire collection. I don't know what I love about it. Maybe it's because I love cycling myself and sort of the extremes that we go to just to kind of make everyday life possible. But so you see this little boy with his tricycle out on the ice, checking out the fish as the fishermen pull them up with the jigs, and I really love that his mouth is agape like the fish that are on the ice.
What's the matter with you, said the little fellow?
And also, I think that the innovation that we still see, and it makes me wonder where we'll be in another 50 years. We have a fat bird that we first moved into ourselves. My first winter, and now they're everywhere. And it makes me wonder, what will be the next big thing? What
nice big outdoor sport. How will we find new ways to travel in winter? Again, another fun first shot at the snow machine. Before we had snow machines, there were all sorts of tries at motorized snow travel. This one was called the Snow Tractor, which was put out by Ford Motor Company and failed miserably in Alaska because our snow is too dry. They actually brought up, I think, 4 or 5 of them to Alaska specifically to support the first transpolar flight that Eielson and I don't remember the name of the guy that accompanied him, Sir Wilkins tried to do. And so these guys were hauling freight for them. Kind of floundered in the cold, dry interior. So this little grouping of photographs really talks about how we alter our interior environments, how we can make these small places we call home a little more cheerful to be in, or maybe not so cheerful if we don't have time to do the dishes or get ourselves off the couch. This photograph, if you can get a chance to look a little closer, the whole interior has been plastered with mail order catalogs, which would have been really colorful. So the vast majority of supplies in rural Alaska and Anchorage, and in many places this is still the case, came from mail order catalogs. So I think it's sort of a nice repurposing of materials you would have had on hand. This is a photographer from Finland. I sort of love the similarities to what we see in Alaska, both color-wise and texture and home decor, and how we sort of collect things that make us think of where we are and remind us where we are. A lot of homes that I've been in, in Alaska, feel very similar. This is a great photo by Mike Conti. He's holding a sign that says, "I hate you." And this photo especially spoke to me and the way that I feel in the wintertime and how I sort of retreat into myself sometimes. And you have a hard time reaching out to those around you and remembering that it's really not so bad. That there are a lot of people that care about you. But yeah, I guess Cabin Fever was sort of a visual exploration of the different ways that we can cope with winter, the different ways that we can alter our environment to make it more palatable. These colors are actually from Greenland, but what I think is really interesting is you also see these colors in rural Alaska a lot. In Kotzebue and Barrow, in the villages, a lot of these rural places paint their houses very bright colors, and you see that across the sort of polar north. It's sort of an interesting similarity across the board. You get a chance to get a close look at the faces here. It's a great expression of mildly tolerating wintertime. This is from the Ice Carnival in Fairbanks in the 30s. So does anyone have any questions? I feel like I'm just sort of babbling about photography. No? All good? Well, if you have a chance, hang around. There's 2 great films that are featured here. One's from an artist in Germany. The other one is from an artist here in Anchorage. And they both sort of take different perspectives on what loneliness can be, what isolation can be. One is about a miner specifically sort of losing his mind, both for the greed of gold, but also because he's spending way too much time in a tiny cabin by himself. And the other has a little more of an urban feel to it, and if you watch the film, you can sort of see why. But isolation doesn't just happen in rural places, it happens in urban settings. You can be surrounded by thousands of people, and you still are alone in your own apartment, going about your way on local transportation, and to your job, coming home. There's all sorts of ways that we can isolate ourselves, but there's a lot of ways that you can cope with that too. So that's what Cabin Fever is about to me. It's about how do we design our homes, how do we cope with winter, how do we make this place livable, excuse me, both livable and also lovable. It's taken me a long time to get to the point where I'm thinking that Anchorage is home now, and that I do love it here and I do want to stay, and a big part of it is, sort of making your own nest, finding your own ways to cope.